welcome. You're watching Medically Speaking, and I am Meenakshi Ukreti. It's been days after Diwali, but Delhi and its neighboring cities are enveloped in a thick layer of smog. When we say that the air quality in the national capital has improved a little, we don't mean that the air quality is good. What we say and what we really mean, unfortunately, right now is that from the severe category, the air quality has become very poor. So in Delhi, what we say very poor AQI, we Delhiites consider as a norm. Is that okay? What does it mean for our health? What does it mean for our lungs? What does it mean for immunocompromised people? We will discuss all of that and more, and especially we'll also be looking at a solution-oriented approach in the coming half an hour. Help us understand really the impact this poor air quality can have on our lungs, sir. Over to you.
So, if we directly come to lungs, because the pollution is not only going to affect lungs, it affects the entire body. So, the central nervous system, the cardiovascular system, and immune system, and even the conceived baby inside the womb is also affected by this pollution. So, lungs are actually at the first defense. But definitely the entire body is affected by the pollution which we are facing right this time of the year. But unfortunately, if you see by the WHO norms, entire year we have this pollution and we never breathe normal air, which is like a WHO index of AQI less than 50 or less than 100. Right. So if we talk about lungs, definitely the asthma exacerbations are increasing in the short term. Then short-term side effect is like COPD patients, the patients with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, the patients who have reactive airways, they will definitely be affected in short term. But if you talk about long-term consequences of prolonged pollution, definitely cancer is one of the manifestations. So cancer of lung, and that will be a long-term consequence of it. Okay. Even non-smokers, we are seeing an increasing trend of cancer, especially lung cancer, even in female patients who are non-smokers. So the lungs are paying the price for all this which we are inhaling as a gas chamber.
Are you seeing any manifestations in long COVID patients? What has been the implication of the bad air quality and of course subsequent lung and respiratory and other ailments which we have just discussed, vis-a-vis of course the COVID pandemic in the backdrop, Dr. Garg?
Exactly. I think this is a big issue. When we talk of any respiratory ailment, and in COVID, one of the respiratory ailment was present. There was some damage to the lungs, especially in moderate to severe COVID. Though we don't have a robust data because the things have just started. So if you ask me scientifically what percentage has increased, so those data are not available with us right now. But definitely in this situation on a personal communication, yes, these patients are getting a little concerned of increasing air pollution because they will any precipitating factor in which change of season is one, increased air pollution is second, lack of exercise is the third one. So these all parameters will lead to some effect on their quality of breathing, quality of life with respect to breathing. So yes, this has an impact. But on the other hand, we have to look for the other aspect also. It's just not when we say the air pollution is increasing in the month of say November, the weather is changing. It is not at this point of time. I think we also need to have a positive impact, and the message should be clear that it is the whole year efforts from our side that we keep our lungs healthy so that we can mitigate this transition very successfully. So for example, somebody was asking me very recently, the air pollution is increasing. Can I start the exercise now? I said, why are you asking this question in November? You should have started all year. So this means when somebody asks it's not safe to exercise or go for a morning walk when the air pollution is increased too much, why do we start to think of these when something is happening? Similarly, when my COVID patients were there, so moment they are discharged, even my cancer patients in the palliation, when they are discharged, we never say that you're okay, go ahead and don't do anything. No, we have to do something for them. It is the continuous functional capacity building for these patients so that their lungs are healthy and they can tolerate the stress. Stress is a part of life. I mean, actually, I think everybody knows us. And this change of weather is again a physical stress to our patient's body or our body. So we have to prepare ourselves and mitigate some measures so that air pollution can be decreased. I think that is a policy matter. But from our point of view, and for the viewers who are looking for us, I think be prepared yourself, because we are responsible for causing this air pollution. We are the culprit. If we are not improving it, let's work on our body so that we can tolerate it much better.
Year after year, air pollution is a topic which is much discussed. It almost sounds repetitive. I understand that all of us collectively need to do more. Sounds great on paper, but what do we do at this moment when the air quality is at its worst?
Yeah, definitely. The administrative controls have to take over rather than just, talking about it. We need to do urgently something. But what we at our level can do is if we are doing morning walks during these peak hours of pollution, which is, usually in the morning and in the late evening, the air is very cold and it remains very stagnant. So morning walk goers are strongly requested to change their time of morning walk around noon or in the afternoon, preferably when they are at their workplace, when the hotter air will come in and it will rise up. So one thing is this can be done. And rather than going out into the open air, we have to shift to indoor, possibly with physical distancing, considering the COVID pandemic. Yes, of course, with COVID appropriate behavior. So these small changes can help you a lot in your daily routine. Of course, you do not have to stop exercising at all and stay indoors all the time. You have to take care of your health. You have to take care of your weight, which is another risk factor for all these diseases. And on the other hand, you can also boost up your immunity by eating healthy. By eating healthier foods like nuts, fruits, which have quite a lot of antioxidants in them, and they help boost our immune systems and the ability to fight these oxidants, which are often incorporated into this toxic air, which consists of ozone and other toxic gases which lead to the free radical injury to our systems. The antioxidants come into play, which can help a long way to take care of these things. Apart from this, what 1.34 billion people can do is at least plant a single tree so that we have a lot of trees to take care of this pollution. But yes, the administrative control has to chip in, and we have to reduce the number of dust coming in, dust generation procedures, and the industrial waste which needs to be taken care of. If you talk of NCR, if you see Yamuna while going home, you will have a horrible sight. I mean, if somebody is doing Chhat Puja in that polluted water, in fact, what impact it is going to have on their skins. And just have a look at it. We are just polluting our rivers like anything. And if you think that the river pollution is not contributing to the air pollution, you're absolutely wrong, because all of these are connected. Once your air is toxic, it seeps into your soil, it seeps into your atmosphere, it seeps into your rivers, which rather in turn go inside your vegetation. And eating these vegetables which are polluted is causing a lot of damage, which includes the heavy metals like arsenic, which includes lead, which causes long-term health effects, which can be leading to anemia and chronic fatigue syndrome, which we all have at the moment.
And, ma'am, also you've broadened the debate, so to speak, in Dr. Mandhania, we had, of course, spoken earlier of the correlation between air pollution and cancer. Of course, be it air pollution, water pollution, there certainly is a correlation to cancer. And as, Dr. Vinny also spoke about water pollution. These pictures, these visuals, of course, are weighing down on everyone's mind. We have pictures of a very frothy Yamuna, a big, thick layer of froth, and people's, immersed in water, celebrating their Chhat knee deep, sometimes almost, shoulder deep in the same water. That's the same water which is seeping in a groundwater. All of that, when we speak of the air pollution, the water pollution, how grim the situation is, sir, would you say? And how immediate would you say is a response, and a very robust response required from our policymakers? Where are we lacking, sir?
First of all, it is not just the lung cancer which increases because of the pollution. It is the nasopharyngeal malignancies or throat malignancies. There is an increased incidence, increased correlation of breast malignancies, bladder malignancies because of this. Along with that, there are a lot of other systems which are affected. So when we talk about policy, why we should blame the government? first the things should start from our own. We are 140 billion people. You can imagine every day in rural areas, even in urban population, आप अपने घर के सामने कचरा जलता है. Why can't we stop this? This is a very small step, but it can dramatically decrease the air pollution. And as government has said, there is such a program, Swachh Bharat program. It has got a dramatic impact on the kids, young population. It has very good impact. So I think there has to be motivation from the side of the government, because you cannot enforce the laws. But if we can motivate them, definitely we can have a better thing. Second thing is why we can give them the green fuel or a safe fuel or non-smoking fuels. So for that, there has been some programs where they are providing free cylinders to the rural population thereby, because you can see this is the population who stays at home, who use the smoking coal or smoking form of some fuel, whereby there is no good ventilation, there is a claustrophobic area, and they constantly go on inhaling those things. It has impacted. So that is green energy. Second is, why can't we use green energy in our vehicles, because it contributes nearly 27% of the population.
But wouldn't you say, sir, that some of the measures which you were saying, and I agree with you, they sound great on paper, but how implementable are they? And Dr. Garg, that's the point which I had made earlier also, that yes, all of us need to do more. Yes, we all need to move towards sustainable green energy. Let's have let's use solar energy, use green vehicles, but we know the shortcomings. How practical are these solutions? Practically, what can one do as an individual to protect themselves against the high pollution levels which are prevailing as of now, sir?
I think it has to be a holistic, all-inclusive approach. It cannot be a 1.5 statements and that will take care of the pollution and its effect on a particular human being. Everybody has to contribute its own responsibility into the system. So it's basically a system we have to work on. Let it be whatever the policy is. Yes, I know there are many rules and regulations. It becomes a responsibility of each one of us to follow those rules and regulations. This is one. Second thing is, on individual point of view, I would say that we need to make an effort, because we know that every year this is happening and this is a cyclic phenomena. Yes, I fully agree that we have to take some preventive mitigations so that this does not happen in near future. But then we know that it is happening. We have to create immunity from ourselves inside throughout the year.
How do we create that immunity, sir? Do we need to drink those kadhas? Do we need to do yoga year throughout? What would your suggestion be to those watching?
I will just say in a very simple language, just live a natural life. And if you see the natural life, what I mean is, if it was a 45 minutes of walk or exercise a day throughout the year, if we take a healthy food, if we are not under the stress, because stress, as each one of us know, even when we talk of malignancy, when we talk of cardiovascular disease, it decreases the immunity of ourselves. Our body has a great God-gifted inherent repairability of the body. If something harms happens to our lungs, they are repaired very nicely by the body itself. Okay. Even if there are some tumor cells, they are taken care by the human body itself. So this means we have to preserve those body capacity to maintain its own health, and that we can do throughout the year. A good physical exercise, a good healthy diet, a natural diet throughout the year, maybe a little amount of whatever we can say, the physical stress, the mental stress, the lifestyle modification. This needs to be done round the clock. And as the other panelists was also saying, that we have to change our lifestyles as the weather changes. We can avoid the morning walk in the morning itself, but yes, we can do it in the afternoon. We can have indoors. And I think one of the good positive aspect of COVID is that we have learned to wear the mask. I think it's both hands. We have to follow the preventive strategy for our life, and all precautions, whatever it is, we have to take it, whether it is having deep breathing exercises, doing yogas, having respiratory therapies, like in the form of what I said, deep breathing exercise, some time of steam inhalation, avoid extreme exposure to the pollutions, right? As we were saying, that don't have a vigorous walk or exercise when the pollution is on the peak, early morning hours when it's little damp. So avoid those things. And in addition to it, do follow the COVID appropriate behavior. And this is the season also for viral infections, which are happening in this season to a large extent. So be care of those things, that follow the cough hygiene, follow the normal hygiene. so that your immunity remains best. You are not spreading infections. If you are unwell, please try to be staying at home or isolate yourself so that you are not spreading infection. So these small things will probably help you to take care of the prevalent days, and probably the air pollution with time will come down, and we hope and we wish that all of us will contribute not to increase the air pollution further on.
But a day which is, of course, interspersed with continuous news of pollution. Year after year, we see the AQI reducing, the air quality index, of course, becoming worse every year. This year, no different. Various measures taken, but nothing really seems to improve the situation. This time, of course, everything has become worse with the coronavirus. Now, many of you may say, as far as the pandemic is concerned, cases are at an all-time low. Why should we even worry? We must worry, say experts. Experts say that we could see a spurt in cases owing, of course, to the festivities, the festive seasons, and the crowds which we are seeing. Are you one of those who are throwing caution to wind? Should you do that? What are the precautions you should generally have around Diwali time? To talk about all of this and more, I have a panel of experts with me, all of them, of course, pulmonologists, and I'm going to start, of course, with introducing Dr. Anand Mohan, HOD Pulmonology Medicine, AIMS, Dr. Sharad Joshi, Associate Director of Pulmonology from Max of Vaishali, Dr. Rajesh Chawla, he's a Senior Consultant, Pulmonology and Critical Care from the Indraprastha Apollo Hospital, Dr. Ravi Shekhar Jha, he is the Additional Director of Pulmonology, again, from the Fortis Escort Hospitals of Faridabad. Now, thank you all for joining us. Starting, first of all, with Dr. Mohan. Sir, year after year, as we said, the air quality index deteriorates, the air quality worsens. This time again, we are seeing a very similar pattern. Help us really understand why we must care about reducing pollution more. It's Diwali already. People are already celebrating Diwali. What will you say to those perhaps who have not deterred or refrained from bursting firecrackers once again, despite of various regulatory measures taken by subsequent and, of course, the current government as well?
Yeah, thank you. So you have raised an important question here, and I'll start by first answering why is it important to even talk about this air pollution, which has been there in our city for so many years, and it is gradually actually assuming very difficult proportions. So why is it important to talk about it is because we know the health hazards associated with air pollution and bad air quality. And this is now not just restricted to the lungs. Of course, the lungs and the airways are the most important part of the body which are affected by it, and it leads to a number of disorders, respiratory, breathing disorders, bronchitis, aggravation of asthma, and other things also which may be even more sinister. But it also has indirect or direct effects on other parts of the body as well, ranging from the problem in the eyes, the skin, neurological disturbances in the long run. Then there may be problems in the cardiovascular system. There has been a direct link associated with stroke, heart diseases, heart attacks, etc. So basically, nobody is immune, no system is immune, and that is why it is so important to talk about it. As far as your other question is concerned, what should we do? Of course, there have to be a slew of measures, including at the personal level, individual level, family level, maybe at the neighborhood level, and then going into the community level, and then at the administrative level. So it has to be done at every level. Only one level alone is not going to work. So it has to be education and legislation both. That is what I feel is important. Thirdly, what should we do? Yes, you are saying because the corona pandemic has actually compounded the issue to a large extent, because that is still not gone. The pandemic is still very much here. Of course, cases are low, but still there are more than 10,000 cases on a daily basis across the country. Let us not forget that. So it may anytime surge. Schools are gradually opening, festivities are coming, markets are crowded. So unless we maintain the COVID appropriate behavior of having adequate social distancing and the mask, these are the two most important things that we have to continue, apart from, of course, the vaccination. But remember, vaccination is not the only magic bullet, and very small proportion of our population has actually been fully vaccinated so far.
Right.
So we have to maintain the behavior appropriately.
Right. And so, as we speak about vaccination, about how, of course, the pollution, which we see every year, that, of course, the situation is worsening year after year, catapulted really, of course, compounded by the coronavirus. Dr. Joshi, let's first speak about the COVID pandemic and, of course, the festive season. Every time, sir, we have a festive season, we see people throw caution to air. We are seeing, of course, these overcrowded Diwali market as well. The visuals have been there for everyone to see. Prime Minister, of course, has held a meeting with the chief ministers to get everyone vaccinated. Vaccination, of course, very important. But as far as precaution, equally important, isn't it, sir?
Rightly said, Vaishali. So we know that is precaution or prevention of a disease is better than cure, because we don't have very effective cure for COVID especially. So COVID, as the sir said, that COVID appropriate behavior is a must, that we should continue. We can see that across the country, because of festivities and Diwali celebrations, there are overcrowding in the market, and overcrowding do happen. It does happen in any of the market, but we have to take care that we are wearing masks, we are maintaining little bit of distancing, because not only COVID, even a simple flu will spread rapidly during these overcrowding. Now, if you see, there are multiple factors which are coinciding at this particular time of the year, because the winters are setting in. There are incidences of crop burning which are increasing. Then there will be firecrackers, whether it is green firecrackers or something else, but whatever festivities are there, firecrackers are going to be part of it. So there are multiple factors which are coinciding, and they are all going to affect the health of every individual and the society. So not only COVID, even the flu will spread rapidly because of overcrowding, because of zealing and meeting each other very often. So these kind of precautions has to be taken care when, especially when you don't have a cure or the proper treatment of something.
Right. Precaution, of course, absolutely important. But Dr. Rajesh Chawla, help really our viewers understand that why is it even more critical this time around, that when we have, of course, the corona pandemic lurking in the background, of course, as Dr. Mohan rightly said right at the beginning, cases still above 10,000, positivity rate, it is less than 2%. Yes, that is given, but it's still pretty high. It is 1.19% even till yesterday, if we speak of the latest numbers. So clearly, we cannot forget about the pandemic. Considering that backdrop, how important is it that we really keep pollution in check? I know that we can't keep overall pollution in check, but as far as bursting crackers is concerned, as far as our personal contribution to increasing pollution is concerned, that's something which we must take care of, isn't it, sir?
Thank you. The pollution should be checked throughout the year, but unfortunately this part of the time, every year we have the pollution level rising tremendously. From October till December, and we talk a lot on the media and everywhere about pollution, and we talk much less. And now the air quality index has already crossed 300, which is the very poor quality. Now, this year it is not different than the previous years, but after it has opened up, a lot of construction activity, still there is a burning in the fields. Still, all the things, the vehicles on the roads are tremendous, because last year people could not celebrate Diwali the way they wanted. So this year there is a lot of rush on the roads. So pollution level is rising tremendously. Winter is setting in. A lot of people have suffered from COVID, and some of them are still having some respiratory symptom. So all in all, if you put together, it is having a lot of impact on the health.
Right. But sir, you spoke about long COVID, and I'd like to take that thought forward. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you in between, because you spoke of something very significant. Dr. Jha, if you could come in the conversation at this point of time, there are many who are suffering from long COVID also, and many who have, of course, lung-related issues because of course, the second wave, which had a multitude of number of people who had been affected with the disease, with coronavirus. Really, how difficult is the situation for them at this time of year? So that was a question which I was trying to ask. How difficult does it become? How much, does it get compounded by the fact that we have, of course, an additional burden of pollution at this time of the year, sir?
Thank you for asking this. Basically, this year we have much more number of cases of respiratory patients as we had 2-3 years back. The main reason is that patients with COVID sequelae compounded added to that. So air pollution or normal pollution, normal pre-Diwali pollution level affect normal people or diseased people in two ways. First, those who have normal lungs, and second, those who have already have diseased lungs. So those who have normal lung, if they come in contact with higher pollution level, their normal respiratory system is affected in long run. But those who already have low respiratory reserve, like those who are asthmatic or those who have COVID-related sequelae in their lungs, those who have COVID fibrosis, their lungs tend to get affected too early than usual. So those patients who are suppose patient who had COVID in maybe April or May and he has got COVID fibrosis who is still recovering, if he comes in contact with this high air pollution level, and there are very high likelihood that his recovery will be delayed. In medicine requirement will go up definitely.
Mhm.
Another thing that we all have this tendency to get ignore is that normally what fibrosis patient feel is that only if they wear mask they are totally protected. Is not right. Mask, the charcoal mask, which is supposed to be protective in against air pollution, there is only one mask, that is charcoal mask, that protects you only against nitrous oxide, not against any other pollutant.
Hmm.
So the normal pollutant mask, which can give us some protection against PM 2.5, does not protect again. That does not is very comfortable to wear. So what I would like to conclude is that. Patient with COVID fibrosis tend to be much more careful. They should try to avoid doing any kind of exercise when pollution level is very high.
All right. Avoid, doing any kind of exercise when pollution levels are high. But Dr. Mohan, one can't avoid going to office. One can't really stop living their lives at this time of the year. What is one to do? Yes, wearing a mask at all times. All right, that's something which way one needs to follow as far as COVID protocol is concerned. But what would be your suggestion to those who perhaps have long COVID symptoms, especially lung-related complications, either because of the pandemic or otherwise? What will you say to those? In fact, every year we have a separate advisory for the elderly and children as well, isn't it, sir?
Yeah, so there are two, again, like I said, it was mentioned, there are two type of patients. One who have got previously healthy lungs and they are exposed to bad environment, and the other, those who have diseased lungs and they are exposed to bad environment. Among the diseased lung, if you're talking about the long COVID means especially related to the respiratory system, those who have some problems, significant respiratory problems, at least after say 3 months or so after the acute illness. Now, fortunately, that is not a very large number in terms of percentages, but because the absolute number of cases are so high, even the small percentage becomes significant. Now, those patients obviously have to undergo and get themselves treated to the, with their physician wherever they are. Apart from that, they have to see the extreme cases, those who are on oxygen, they obviously have to be on oxygen. But majority of those will be able to do most of their activities with some precautions. Precautions are, of course, the standard precautions which we talked about, plus taking the medication in time, maybe taking the inhalers if required or whatever medicines, and just cutting down their exertional activities to the level that they are comfortable, and taking extra care to avoid situations which may be detrimental to their health. That also we have talked about.
Yes.
Staying at home actually is the best, but like you said, it's not possible. They have to work. Now, for those who have got normal lungs, again, the same principles apply to a large extent, because normal lung people, if they go out and they have a acute exposure to anything which is toxic, they will develop acute symptoms of bronchitis, respiratory effort, difficulty, and all those.
Solution-based approach, sir. What will you say, Dr. Mohan?
Well, although the situation does remain grim, but still I would like to be optimistic, and I would like to hope and feel that yes, things will improve. But of course, it needs a lot of effort. It will need a lot of coordinated effort. And like I said before, right from the individual level, family level, at the neighborhood level, community level, and then at the administrative or the legislative level. So there will have to be a strong will at every level. We just cannot say ki it is their job and it is not our job alone. That won't work actually. Whether it is control of the corona pandemic or it is control of the air pollution, both the things ultimately are going to have bad effects on the health. So that is what we have to really understand.
So, Shani, not only policymaker, I think rightly said by Dr. Mohan sir, that it's everybody's responsibility. Policymakers will have some legislation, but people will steal something, right? they will try to still use crackers during Diwali, or they will still try to burn the crops, or the construction will continue to go on wildly. But it's the responsibility of each and everyone. So we have to understand through your channel that it's not the responsibility of only legislative assembly or the people who are making laws. It's the responsibility of every citizen, and that is how we are going to maintain this.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.